put the design together and submit it right away. It's almost in place of if you were doing a provisional patent for the utility patent, right?
That's right. I mean, we can throw together a design patent pretty quickly with good drawings, in a week and get it filed. Even faster if we have to, but because it's 3 sheets of drawings, and if we have good source material, then the draftsman can do that fairly quickly.
Sure. What do you think are we've been really, and you've been giving us some great tips on the design patent and giving us some great examples. Is there anything else that we should know about or other things that we should consider before we file a design patent?
Well, I would say that, for most people, they just want to be able to say patent pending. And if you want to have a chance of getting your patent issued, it might make sense to look at a design patent as opposed to a provisional patent. Mm-hmm. Because you can file a provisional patent for pretty inexpensively, but it's only good for a year. And after that, are you going to spend the big money on the non-provisional utility patent? You'll have a choice to make at that point. And so it's hard to predict the future, obviously, but if you want to have a patent that you at least have a 95% chance of getting, then a design patent is something that's worth looking into. And even if you file a design patent in conjunction with a utility patent, I think that very often that's a no-brainer, and a lot of people use that as a hedge against having problems getting the utility patent through.
Okay.
The allowance rate on utility patents is about 50% nationwide. So out of 100 applications that go in, only 50 of them will ever end up being granted patents. The rest will be rejected. And of those 50 that are allowed, it's very likely that the claims will be limited or reduced in scope from when they were first filed. So if you look at the odds of getting the utility patent through versus getting the design patent through, it may make sense to file a design patent just so that later on you have the chance of being able to say patented. And yeah, it might be a design patent, and people might be able to find some way around the design patent and make it work the same. But my feeling is for maybe a total of $1,500 total for the cost of the patent, that's pretty cheap for an arrow that you might have in your quiver to shoot at a competitor.
Sure.
It's better than not having it.
Right. Well, that makes sense. That could be a good strategy for many listeners out there at that stage for sure. What about filing foreign filing and protecting yourself overseas with design patents? Is there any chance of protection there?
Yeah, there is. And under the Paris Convention, people are familiar with the idea that when you file your patent in the United States, you have a certain period of time to file your foreign patents. You have this umbrella that will allow you to use your filing date in the U.S. as your effective filing date internationally. Now, in the case of design patents, that's not a 1-year time frame. It's 6 months. So you have to understand that you have to act a little quicker with design patents. Each country has its own laws, of course, and so you'll have to work with someone in each country that knows the laws in that country. But I can tell you that in general, you can budget between $2,000 and $2,500 per country, depending on if you need translations or if you need to do drawing changes. Some countries like China, they don't want any shading on the design patent drawings at all, which is almost exactly the opposite of what we require in the United States. In Europe, you're only allowed 7 drawings, so you can't show different configurations, different embodiments. That's it, 7 drawings. So there's different laws in each country, and you just have to work with the patent attorneys or patent agents in those countries to figure out what's needed and if it's going to be worth it. The question I always say to ask is, look, if you're trying to figure out whether or not to file a design patent in, say, Japan or not, you have to ask the question, are your sales going to go up enough because you have this patent to cover the cost of the patent.
Right.
In other words, if your sales aren't going to change in Japan, having a patent there or not, then don't bother with the patent.
Right. And
don't
then
spend
also,
the money on it.
And also having to protect it there if there is a challenge.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, and that's a whole other question. Sometimes patents work like insurance. You never know who you're going to scare away, and so you have to consider that. But then when it comes down to actually enforcing that patent, how much is that going to cost you in yen? For example,
Right.
might be a lot of yen.
Right. Oh, that's interesting.
Now, one thing I will mention is that the European design patent is actually a pretty good deal. It covers all of Europe. And I think the last client I had told me that he spent about $2,500 on it. So that's actually a pretty good deal because you get a lot of bang for the buck there. But
what is that? WIPO? WIPO?
No, it's EU.
EU. Oh, right.
The European Patent Office.
Okay. So what you're saying there is that we could just file under EU, and that'll cover us with all these other countries?
Well, all of the countries in the European community, yes.
In the European community. Okay. And where would an inventor or somebody listening be able to find somebody to help you with foreign patent filings?
Yeah, you have to find a patent attorney or a patent agent in one of the member countries there. So I think the people I refer are in London, Kilbourne and Stroud or something. I have a list. People can email me if they want the list of foreign attorneys. And I don't vouch for them necessarily. I just know that they've been able to help some of my clients.
Okay, but that's what you have to do. You have to look and find the country that you're looking to file. You have to find an agent or an attorney there.
Yeah, so for example, if you have a golf patent, some kind of little golf accessory, definitely look at Japan. Those guys are crazy about golf over there. It may not be as good in other countries. So you have to find out where your market is to figure out where it's really going to help you.
And just to understand also that if you do have your U.S. patent issued, then if somebody decides to make it in Japan, that's fine. They can make it all they want. They won't be allowed to import it into the United States without your permission.
Yeah, well, the U.S. patent gives you the right to stop somebody from making, using, or selling the product in the United States.
Right.
But it doesn't give you the right to stop someone from making it in China and selling it in Europe.
Perfect. That's exactly right. That's the point I wanted to make there. Perfect.
Yeah.
Now, you're always speaking to inventors. I know you also founded an Inventors group in California. Now, I know you're talking to inventors quite often, and there's inventors that are listening that are at all stages of the invention process, whether they just started or they're at the point where they're licensing or manufacturing. There's successful inventors that are listening that already have products out there. If you could just help us, Kevin, give us some words of wisdom to the inventors at all different stages. Give us some words of advice, what your experience is to keep us moving forward with our ideas.
Well, I think that you kind of touched on one thing that's really important, and that's to join an inventors group or some other kind of entrepreneurs group that meets regularly and keeps you motivated. The group that I co-founded actually was in 1990. It's called Inventors Forum, and that's in Orange County, California. It's actually the largest inventors group in Southern California. Still going strong, and I think the reason is because they have 2 meetings a month, and one of them is what we call the closed meeting, where it's members only. Everyone signs a non-disclosure agreement to keep everyone's information a secret, and people present their ideas, and then the 40 or 50 other members who show up start giving them feedback. And it really is a motivating kind of an organization, because you come out of there thinking, wow, there's people who have the answers. I've gotten good information and I can do this. People in the group have done it. So that's one thing that's really important. The second thing is, and this is from personal experience, I always tell people, I know you want to get rich quick, but really you should focus on not getting poor quick, because there are a lot of opportunities to waste money when you're starting a project like this, and you really have to ask, is it worth spending $10,000 on doing an initial run of products if you don't have a sales channel for those products. Because like me, you're going to end up with all that inventory in your garage before you know if it's actually going to sell. And so that's the other key thing. Just be real frugal and make sure that you're not spending money needlessly, because that money goes quick. You know, when you're talking about building inventory, doing marketing, establishing distribution, all of those things I think are much harder than patents and can be very costly.
Absolutely.
And that's, by the way, that's one reason why I like these crowdfunding platforms like Kickstarter. You can post your project on those sites and see how many people will actually contribute to the production of it. It's like getting pre-orders. It's the best possible money because it's not a loan and it's not equity in your company. So it's a way of doing market research to see if there's any demand for this thing before you've spent money tooling up for it.
Well, that makes sense. Those are very good points, Kevin. Tell us quickly about your book.
Yeah, you know, this was a fun project, and in fact, I launched it with Kickstarter because I wanted to see if there was going to be a demand for the book.
Yeah.
And this comes out of about 5 years where I was doing 4 or 5 patent searches a day, and so I was seeing a lot of patents. And every once in a while, I would come across one that was just beautiful. I mean, the artwork was stunning, you know, way above what was necessary for a design for a patent drawing. And I started when I came across one of these patents, I started tucking it away into a folder, and eventually I had about 200 patents in this folder, and I thought, you know, that's probably enough to do a coffee table art book on patent drawings. And the thing that's interesting is that everyone involved with the patent is listed on the patent except for the draftsman. You know, the inventor's listed, the attorney who put the words together is listed, the examiner in Washington is listed, but the draftsman, the artist who created those drawings, is anonymous. And so I thought, well, let's showcase some of this artwork because a lot of it's been buried for 200 years or 150 years. I mean, some of the best stuff is actually hand-drawn artwork from the 1800s.
That's
beautiful,
awesome. Beautiful
drawings of things like, you know, wood-burning stoves, and I mean, just amazing detail. It's just interesting to me that you know, with computers and everything that makes drawing so easy these days, the drawings that we're getting are just so simple compared to what we had in the past. I don't know how long it took these people to draw these things by hand, but it had to have been hours and hours and hours on each illustration.
That's awesome. It's called The Art of the Patent, and it's you're the author, Kevin Prince.
Yeah, you can get it on Amazon or Barnes & Noble, any of the book sites, I think.
Excellent. Kevin, I really appreciate you being on our show. Design patents are really something that you hear about, you don't know. Maybe you're trying to compare between a design patent and a utility patent, and you're not sure what to expect. And I know inventors are looking for resources and to understand this, and I think you've done a very, very good job explaining it to the listeners. I really appreciate you being on our show tonight.
Well, I appreciate you having me, Brian. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. And I'd like to thank our sponsors, of course, Inventors Digest. You can go to inventorsdigest.com, and you can subscribe to their magazine, which is a print magazine that you get delivered to your mailbox. You can also go to inventorsdigest.com and take a look at all the great resources and tools that they have on the website. Go to United Inventors Association, UIAUSA.org. QuickPatents.com. Kevin, thank you for being one of our sponsors. We have Distribution Direct, Patent Pride. You can get a plaque once you receive your patent issued. Get a nice plaque for it at PatentPride.com. And also GetInventionHelp.com. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Have a great night. Keep on inventing, and stay tuned for the next episode of Got Invention Radio. Have a great night.